Hello, everybody, and thank you so much for joining today's session, our Precisely demo showcase that's going to be focusing on operational resilience for regulated industries and delivering real-time compliance visibility across IBM Z, IBM I, and ServiceNow. So we have a great session planned for you today, and this is going to include a demo as well as a fireside chat with some of our Precisely experts. So our experts today are going to be Bowen Yang and Arosha Tomicelli, coming from the product organization here Precisely, as well as myself, Britney Schultz. So without further ado, we're going to dive right in. So I think it's important to take a moment to level set here and talk about how these IBM data silos are holding organizations, specifically those that exist within regulated industries, back. Here you can see a couple different buckets of problems that we typically run into. You'll see things around limited visibility, unplanned downtime, and then of course hefty fines that come into play when you aren't able to be compliant with certain regulations that come up. So I think it's important to say that these problems can really hold entire organizations back from creating value in their day-to-day work. And this can result in tremendous amount of time and capital that's spent being really reactive as opposed to being proactive when it comes to these IT operations.
All right, and that's exactly where Precisely Ironstream comes to play. Because of the fact that IBM Z and IBM I still run core business transactions for highly regulated industries, such as financial, insurance, and cross-platform systems, excluding those systems leaves a very structural visibility as well as security gaps across your entire IT organization and cybersecurity workflow. So Precisely Ironstream comes into play as a certified solution that delivers maps and streams, mainframe, as well as IBM I configuration and event data into modernized observability platforms, which including ServiceNow. So this actually helps the IT organization get the entire end-to-end visibility and as well as clarity across their platform in their ecosystem. And that's why the solution Ironstream provides is so critical to every IT organization and operations, because it does not only address the key challenges we mentioned earlier, but also ensure the overall health as well as reliability of your entire IBM infrastructure. And for ServiceNow, Ironstream natively actually extends your IBM assets and workflows to ServiceNow Discovery, CMDB, service mapping, as well as event management. So your IBM Z and IBM I asset and dependencies such as CICS data, DB2 data, MQ, and real-time events are the first-class citizens in ServiceNow ecosystem and platform without any manual labors or table or any workflows to bridge those gaps and build custom connectors as well. So that's the solution we provide at Ironstream. And now, regulations like DORA, NS2, and NYDFS are raising expectations for operational resilience. So let's just take a look at each one of them. So DORA pushes IT organizations towards this unified cross-platform visibility and evidence, including IT asset inventory, dependencies, incident management, and third-party IT oversight. So that's really where DORA is pushing those requirements. And in the S2, this regulation actually requires unified detections, service impact, and traceable actions across mainframe and cloud and other modernization systems. And lastly, the other thing I want to point out over here is the NYDFS cybersecurity regulation, which is very similar to DORA, but it emphasizes more on a consolidated security and audit-ready evidence, including heightened monitoring, governance, rapid notification requirements, as well as phase timelines. With that said, Precisely Ironstream is designed for both IBM heavy and modernized IT organizations to meet the requirements of those regulations, which is very diverse. So you have this end-to-end visibility and clarity across the entire IT organization and infrastructure, application services, and this enable you to actually stay up to date on event and security incidents that need your immediate attention. And on the other side, as a key integration partner, ServiceNow is already part of our operational backbone and ecosystem. And Ironstream come into play to make that backbone complete by natively bring mainframe and IBMI data into discovery, service mapping, event management, and all that good stuff ServiceNow has to offer. So at the end of the day, that gives the IT organization and IT operational teams end-to-end service context, event correlation, and audit-grade evidence, which are huge impact and exactly the outcomes the regulators and compliance requirements expect under those key regulation requirements.
Thank you, Bowen. So now we are going to see a brief demo that's going to introduce Ironstream for ServiceNow.
Thanks, Brittany. Today I'm going to walk through an example of how Ironstream can help you meet regulatory requirements by populating the configuration management database with mainframe and IBMI configuration items. Here you can see that Ironstream fits into the ServiceNow environment just like everything else. Once the application is installed, you'll find Ironstream's mainframe discovery is shown here, so you can easily view discovered CIs. Now, the example I'm going to walk through today is of a company that came to us at Precisely because they were at risk of non-compliance with NYDFS 500. And this meant the possibility of hefty fines as well as reputational damage. Now, due to the limited out-of-the-box ServiceNow capabilities, their CMDB contained information only down to the LPAR level, along with some outdated and inaccurate manually added configuration items. What they needed was a solution that would ensure automated, accurate, and up-to-date population of mainframe configuration items. And Ironstream did just that, as it provided a breadth and depth of CI discovery that wasn't available before. One requirement they faced was to have a complete inventory of all datasets and tables where non-public information was stored, and the environments where those datasets existed. Specifically, this meant an accounting of all DB2 tables in their environment. During a short proof of concept on a test LPAR, this customer was able to populate their CMDB with all DB2 tables just like you see here. But for them, there were over 8,000 tables discovered. This clearly illustrated the value of Ironstream, as this wouldn't have been possible to achieve through manual efforts. IBMI and mainframes are large and complex systems that are critical to so many IT environments. So when an audit comes up, you want to be confident that you can rely on your CMDB to be the single source of record, not just for cloud and distributed systems, but your mainframe and IBMI systems as well. And you can do that with Ironstream. Thank you for your time, and I'll pass it back.
All right. So thank you so much for that demo. Now we are going to walk into our fireside chat. Again, with me today, I have my lovely experts, Bowen and Arosha. Hey, Bowen and Arosha, how are you guys doing today?
Good, good. How's it going, everybody?
All good, thank you.
Good. So yeah, let's just dive right into the questions. So the first question we have here is around those regulations that you just kind of described, Bowen. So these regulations like DORA, NIS2, and NYDFS are raising expectations for things like operational resilience. From a product perspective, what would you see are the biggest challenges that organizations need to make to meet these new requirements?
So the big change we noticed is moving away from a compliance that happens once in a while on a doc basis to moving to a continuous compliance. Based on my experience working in banking, these regulations are pushing teams to monitor IT system all the time and have full visibility across the whole IT environment. Also including, obviously, areas that often don't show up in modern platforms, such as IBM Z mainframe or IBM Power system. From our perspective at Ironstream, if you can see your whole IT environment in a consistent way inside your normal operational tools, you can really prove your operational resilience.
Yeah, that's a good point. Just want to add on to that. I think one of the biggest change that the IT organization have to adapt to is, making sure like you have a cross-platform audit ready and continuous visibility, right? Just because of the fact that we just talked about the new compliance, DORA talk about emphasize the end-to-end visibility and cross-platform audit ready and service and event pipeline readiness and the needs to have that holistic view to identify and correlate those issues and services. Those are super important but super critical requirements, which indicate that your system and application services and event pipelines have to span mainframe and IBMI with the same fidelity, just like how you did with modernized cloud systems, right? Which will actually help you to comply with those visibility asks. And the other aspect is how do you actually prove your audit readiness? Just because regulators are not expecting evidences, such as your asset inventory, system logs, playbooks, and those test results on demand, which indicate that you have to have that continuous audit readiness and put those on the table so auditors can look for evidence easily, not just a generic policy anymore. So just want to highlight those two things.
Yeah. And I think that those things are really relevant, right? Especially for the regulated industries that we're talking about. So many enterprises, especially the ones that are here today, the ones that are in the regulated industries like financial services, like insurance, really still do rely heavily on these legacy IBM systems, so the mainframe and the IBMI. Yet those environments often seem to be excluded from modern IT operations platforms. So why do you feel like this visibility gap has persisted for so long? And Arosha, why don't we start with you?
Thank you. So first of all, we need to answer why IBM Z and IBMI legacy hardware are still used. They are absolutely mission critical for companies that don't want to rely only on cloud for sensitive data. A lot of banks that have sensitive data, such as transactions, are still relying heavily on mainframe. The gap that the company are facing is that most modern IT operation platform and observability platform don't naturally discover these environments. Taking it as an example, ServiceNow, IBMI or IBM Z data doesn't easily flow inside CMDB or other standard IT operation management workflows. That's why a lot of companies end up relying on manual work, on-ground solution, and IBM experts updating things by hand. This is leading to have IBM systems outside the single pane of glass, and this is the big gap.
Yeah.
I totally agree with that. Arosha, what you said about, right? Like the data gravity and how special the data is on IBM system. That's really the foundational aspect of it. Just because mainframe and IBM telemetries, like job log, system log, SMM data, right? Those are very different from our distributed and cloud system today they're using, which means modernized IT operation system, they lack connectors and domain knowledge and skills to actually normalize that and consolidate those telemetries into their modernized workflow. And also I just want to point out that they're also the silos in the tools that they're using, because historically mainframe team, they use platform specific tools that have heavy domain and system knowledge, whereas the modernized IT operation system, they move to cloud first suites, right? Like Splunk and ServiceNow that we're talking about today. So those are the two biggest aspects that leaves a very structural disconnect between those two teams and systems.
Yeah. And I think let's actually touch on that a little bit more, kind of diving into these modern systems. So how does integrating machine data from the mainframe and IBMI into platforms like ServiceNow change the way that IT and security teams detect and respond to incidents? And Bowen, why don't we start with you first?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think first of all, the first thing come to my mind is better correlation across the full stack, right? So with I think with IBM Z and IBM I events normalized into ServiceNow, say event management and service mapping, ServiceNow admins can correlate events and incidents between between different systems and workflows. And also on the other side, people like IT ops team members, they can actually identify and correlate those alerts with their application, API gateway and clouds to identify what's the real root cause look like, and do the troubleshooting and do the analysis from there. Which means cross-platform observability and faster RCA. So this really helped them to meet regulation requirements better. And the other thing I can think of is, just because of the fact that, now we have end-to-end visibility from that aspect. This actually, are recorded in ServiceNow CMDB table, which create a clear, data profiling with defensible audit trail for those IT team members.
Mm-hmm.
On top of that, from my perspective, what I observed is that by integrating IBM Z and IBM I data into the same place, IT and the security teams already used to spot issues, assign work, and take actions, it makes the whole environment integrated, and it is standardized into modern platform. What is this enabling? This is enabling IT teams and security teams to work in a standardized way with modern tools, and eventually it basically improves their performance. Thanks.
Awesome. So moving on here, I think one of the key capabilities highlighted today is the idea of real-time machine data ingestion. So let's kind of double click on that a little bit and talk about the impact of real-time visibility into things like MTTR and overall operational resilience. And Arosha, why don't we start with you?
Yes, thank you. So real time cuts, in my opinion, the gap between something happened, which is more of a reactive approach, and something is happening right now, which leads to a really more proactive approach, and it in turns directly helps reducing the MTTR, mean time to restore of an incident, for instance. If you detect earlier and off faster and fix issues sooner, this improves overall your resilience for your IT system. From operational resilience point of view, in my opinion, real-time data also shows your regulators that you're monitoring properly and that you can report and respond in a very timely way. Thanks.
That's exactly right, Arosha. Pretty much, right? Prevention will always be reaction, right? Like take a proactive approach, that means a lot. And the other thing I can think of here is, if you have real-time nature of the data streaming, it always mean that you have faster triage and RCA. Just because, right? Like under those regulation requirements and business requirements, IT teams today, they're heavily tasked to acknowledge and to identify and detect those issues, in matter of minutes instead of like hours or days, right? Which we used to see in those legacy systems. And this gaps is only closed when you have really high volume, but also highly real-time mainframe and IBM platform data ingestion included in the IT operation and workflows. So pretty much, I'm just saying it's almost a mission impossible without real-time data streaming across the entire IT stack to meet those requirements on compliance perspective as well as the business perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's pivot a little bit and talk a little bit more about ServiceNow. So ServiceNow is widely used for IT operations management, event management, and of course it's CMDB. What do you think becomes possible when we have mainframe and IBM data that are natively integrated into these mission critical workflows? And Arosha, we can start with you.
Thank you. So, in my opinion, what you really get is end-to-end item workflows, which includes all IBM's platforms instead of like really stopping at the edge of your legacy environment. With IronStream, you can extend ServiceNow discovery for IBM Z and IBM I system and automatically feed all your CMDB to have it up to date. What this is enabling you, this is enabling improving everything downstream, because all the modules for ServiceNow that are related to IT operations and ITSM are heavily relying on it, such as change management, incident management, problem management, event management, and obviously it will improve also your compliance. Thanks.
Yeah, agree. I think aside from a clean, up-to-date CMDB table that includes all of your key, configuration items, it also enable IT organization to have a like true end-to-end service mapping across, their system configurations, applications, services, events, and security instance, which is critical because that's pretty much, what's needed to enable the accurate capacity management, right? Like, impact analysis, risk assessments, thinking about how do you actually go about addressing those risks proactively. So those are definitely, the key requirements to for the IT team to handle those instances to accelerate response and resolutions. So that's actually what's become possible.
Awesome. So for organizations that are preparing for audits or for things like regulatory reviews, what do you feel audit-ready visibility would actually look like in practice?
Okay, so I will pick it up if you don't mind. Audit-ready visibility, in my opinion, means that your data or evidence is created continuously by your operational system. It's not whenever you just ad hoc, you're not scrambling to rebuild it manually at the last minute. As an example for ServiceNow, if CMDB it's accurate, it doesn't need to be updated ad hoc by an expert just when a regulator has a question or at the last minute whenever there is an audit.
Yeah, I think definitely agree that continuous monitoring and audit are, artifacts. Those are super important, to make sure like you have a proactive, audit activities and readiness. On the other aspect, I think it's also important for you to have like a well time-aligned event and response records in place and map that to cross-platform ecosystems, business services applications, and also have that timestamp to support all of those activities. Like when was that issue and happen, and what's the impact across multiple places, right? That's really another key aspect to help IT organizations to stay closely aligned, with the DORA's regulations and requirements on that early warning and incident reporting, as well as notification obligations. So I think that's the other aspect I just want to add to it.
Okay. So moving right along here, from your experience with regulated industries, so again, like the financial services, the insurance, the governments of the world, what do you think are the most common operational blind spots that can be discovered once legacy systems are integrated? And I guess the operational blind spots that are going to be closed once we have these legacy systems integrated.
I can pick this up
too,
initially, if you don't mind. I will give a specific example because this is what I observed the most with our clients and in my experience, and it is specifically CMDB coverage for ServiceNow. Most of the time it is missing IBM legacy asset assets and dependency. So that means that the telemetry that's collected is inconsistent, and it is also collected in an inconsistent way, because sometimes it's collected via manual spreadsheets or some homegrown solutions that are not really well created. Also, it makes your company relying especially on IBM experts to pull this information, which is not the best. Once you get fully integrated, I think that a new world opens up for the teams, because they often realize that a process like incident management, change management, and compliance reporting are run in a much more integrated way, as you have a complete visibility of your IT system, and this improve much more your regulatory risk and operational resilience.
I guess from my perspective, in regulated industries, the most common operational blind spots discovered, when legacy systems are integrated with the right solution, are two things. One is uncorrelated alerts, right, from mainframe subsystems that never got triggered during the standard long process, as was in the playbook, until that the moment come where event management take in and ingest and normalize those data and send it from the IBM system down to those cloud infrastructures. So the uncorrelated alerts, that's the top thing. And then the other one, which Arosha sort of already touched base on, is that some of the hidden IT asset attributes and dependencies. For example, if a microservice is not super critical, but it's also a very important dependency for a singular all part or for important IBM subsystem, that's uncovered only after service mapping actually includes mainframe system. So those are the two things, in my experiences that is actually uncovered, but we have a pretty good opportunity to discover those things and carve those things into bigger picture, by integrate legacy system into the right solution stack.
Yeah. So if you were to say, if a CEO or like a head of operational resilience is evaluating solutions today, what kind of capabilities do you feel like they should prioritize so that they can ensure things like resilience and compliance across both their legacy systems and their modern systems?
Okay, I can get also this.
Yeah.
I can tell you, if I would be a CEO, what would be my wish list for operational resilience. I would have three wishes. First, starting with full visibility across the whole estate. I need to be able to understand full visibility and information on all the IT environment, included obviously IBM I and IBM Z mainframe.
Yeah.
Second wish would be timely delivery of data. So I would love to have the data related to the environment almost in real time or in real time. This is really important for me for monitoring purposes. Third wish, I would like the data to be integrated in all the rest of my IT system and observability platform. If I have the data but it's not very well integrated with the rest of IT system and platform, this can pose an issue, because it decreases the operational efficiency of all the IT and system security teams. So in my opinion, these are the three things the three pillars or wishes that I would focus on.
Thanks, Arosha. I guess if you were to ask me, the top one thing that comes to my mind is I need a certified and native integration between the legacy system and modernized platform. Because this would really help me to avoid, having my team developing those custom tables, DIY ETL processes, and really save my time and capacity to manage multiple systems and vendors while trying to have the team to consolidate different processes. So that gives me both efficiency and value directly, to our team and our customers. I also agree with what you said regarding the real-time ingestion and correlation there, just because, the faster actually you can stream the data and integrate the data, the better chance that you can stay compliant with those regulations, as well as having a faster root cause analysis and incident detection. So absolutely agree with that. And then I would also, on top of that, service aware risk and impact mapping across the platform, which give me the cross-platform risk management, and so I can take a proactive approach.
Awesome.
Yeah, maybe the last thing. Sorry, maybe the last thing is add on to what Arosha said again. Continuous monitoring and auditing tool and playbook. So I can not only just make sure I'm audit ready right now, but also maintain that standard and requirements down the road for sustainability purposes. So yeah, that's my top 4 actually.
Okay. And it looks like we do actually have time for about 2 more questions. So second and last question is, if an organization is using ServiceNow for its IT operations, what do you think the fastest way to bring this mainframe or IBMI data into the same visibility and workflow framework? So Bowen, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think with that in mind, I would suggest that you adopt our Ironstream for ServiceNow Discovery solution, which allow you to actually auto detect those important CIs that's hidden in the dark and write to the standardized CMDB table that ServiceNow has to offer. So you can actually schedule the scan to keep it fresh and give you that visibility of all of the key configuration items in your IBM systems. And that also allow you to stay aligned with ServiceNow update and support. On top of that, we also have other products which help you to develop service mapping patterns as well as event management that enables your organization to develop real-time and accurate correlation between your legacy systems, services, events, and modernized platform. So that's I think that will be my to go.
So thank you very much, Bowen. So I think you mentioned almost everything. From my perspective, just wanted to mention that we are going to release soon a new product that is called Ironstream for IBM Z software discovery. And this will enable users to understand what is the software that is installed inside their mainframe and fill the CMDB tables that are leveraged by software asset management. Thanks.
Awesome. So final question that we have here, and I think it kind of wraps everything that we've been talking about into kind of a final thing. So talking about all this legacy system integration, talking about ServiceNow, talking about regulations, final question being, how do we feel like integrating legacy data into ServiceNow helps specifically with regulatory audits under these new regulations like DORA or NIS2? And Arosha, we can start with you.
Yes, thank you very much. So DORA and NIS2 aren't just about having policy or rules. They are also about being able to prove consistently and continuously that you have visibility and governance across the entire IT estate. When IBM Z data or data is integrated within, for instance, ServiceNow or any new modern and observability system, what you do is you reduce the hunt for evidence across separate tools and manual sources. And you really can produce more consistent reporting from a central operational system, which makes it easier to show monitoring, coverage, controls, and timely response across both legacy and modern platforms.
Yeah, it's a good point. Just want to add to that is that by integrating legacy system data into ServiceNow, it's actually help your organization to demo this end-to-end visibility of your IT inventory, all of the dependencies we're talking about, key monitoring practices, and document those incident handling practices from a single control plane, right? So in that case, think about you can actually make Ironstream and ServiceNow together to be the system records and single source of truth of who know what and when did this happen and when was done, right? This continuously observability and single source of truth structure is the key to help you to meet DORA's IT management expectations, as well as NS2's rapidly developed reporting and communication requirements. So I think that's actually the biggest benefit you can get by integrating those two systems together.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for both joining me today. So again, big thank you to Bowen and Arosha and all the Precisely technical resources that were helping putting this session together today. If you, as a viewer, would like to learn more about Precisely Ironstream, our relationship with ServiceNow, please feel free to hop over to precisely.com where you can see more demos, white papers, and case studies around this. Also, if you're interested in having a conversation with some of our Precisely experts around this topic, around dealing with things like regulations and compliance, please feel free to go over to precisely.com/contact, where you can get a personalized demo and speak to some of our experts. Thank you all again so much for joining this session, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.